We are edging ever closer, not only to the weekend, but to the Christmas holiday. I'm super excited about that. Are you a fan of Christmas? I'm a big fan of Christmas. I love the holidays, I love everything about it. Um, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for joining me on the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update. I'm Jeremy, and we've got things in the news today. Some of them will probably make me angry. Hopefully not, though. I'm going to try and approach this with a good attitude. But and then right out of the gate, the first headline that pops up, yeah, I'm going to get angry. I mentioned there's two big steaming piles of poop in music. There's more than that, but two of note. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is an utter joke, and Rolling Stone magazine, utter joke. Here a few weeks ago, remember, maybe a month ago now, they released their top 250 guitar players. About 100 of the people on the list you've never heard of. Rolling Stone consists of a bunch of, they're either wannabe musicians that could never be successful as musicians, so they become critics, right? Or just these hipsters that think they're smarter than everyone else, and all of their lists and reviews are a platform to them to show how smart they are. And us, the unwashed masses, we just can't understand their exquisite taste, and we're just too stupid to not catch on to what they think is cool. So, you got that whole vibe. And Rolling Stone, just a complete and utter waste. Tell us how you really feel, Jeremy. So here's what got my blood boiling about this again. I had put it behind me, but I saw this headline resurfaced, these feelings, this anger. George Lynch does not appear in the 250. However, and I can't, there's countless numbers of people I've never even heard of before that are in this list of 250 great guitarists that obviously George Lynch isn't even on the list. And so Rolling Stone, in their wisdom, put a bunch of these nobody hipsters, drop tune, capo playing jerk nozzles way ahead. Well, I can't say ahead because George isn't on the list. But George has good spirits about it. He says if there had been the top 251 guitar players, I would have been on the list. So anyways, don't get me going. George Lynch should absolutely have been somewhere in the top 250 guitar players. It's a joke. Okay, Brian May of Queen. Love Brian May. Sir Brian May. Perhaps one of the most intelligent musicians ever. He's called out the draconian treatment of social media sites towards users who upload videos of Queen's live shows. So you see it all the time on YouTube, on the Instagram, on the Twitters. People will upload concert footage, right? They go to a concert, they film it on their phone and they put it in social media. And guys, that's the world we live in. Remember back in the early day, when I say early days, not that early a days, but not too long ago. And some bands still try and do this. They try and enforce this, banning any type of cameras or recording in instrument or equipment. What's the word I'm looking for? You weren't allowed to pull out your phone and film anything. There's a balance, right? Some artists understand that, hey, that's the world we live in. And so they don't care, right? You go and you film it, and you'll see sometimes people on the stage will literally grab the phones and hold them up for the folks and help them film the crowd and put their face right. So there's some artists that embrace it. Others that tend to be more old school are against it. They don't want you to post anything. They don't want you to record anything. And so some of these social media sites, and this is a product of the record the publishing company, the record company, the management groups. So there have been folks posting Queen footage of the live Queen shows, and they're getting shut down by YouTube. YouTube is shutting them down, giving them a strike. If you're a content creator, strikes are a big deal. And I've talked about it a little bit. And the heaviest handed is, what group are the Eagles on? I don't know. I've kind of joked. It's kind of a joke, but kind of not. If you even think about posting anything related to the Eagles or Don Henley, you'll get a knock on your front door and they'll haul you away and you'll never be seen again, right? Some companies are just super hardcore about it. And there's this concept called fair use, that if you only use so much, a certain amount of time or less, or if you're using it for certain reasons, you can post it, whatever. This is becoming a bigger and bigger deal as social media is just huge, right? Everyone's in it. Content that goes up on social, it's kind of like the Wild West in a lot of ways. So I kind of get it. I kind of understand that record companies, publishers, management, they're trying to crack down on some of this. People making money off of their artists. I understand it. But there needs to be a balance, right? In my mind, and here's what's funny. And I've seen this a little bit on my, hey, have you checked out the worst YouTube channel on YouTube? It's mine. Check it out. Classic Guitar Rock on YouTube. Find it. So I've published over the past few years some guitar lessons, right? I'm showing you how to play songs very, very badly on guitar. Well, I've gotten a few, I don't know if I can call them strikes. I did a guitar lesson on how to play Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News, right? So got a guitar lesson after. You should check it out. It's a pretty good lesson, actually, for me. And I get a little notification that says, hey, you're sharing revenue on this, which is great. So basically what happens is any of the money I made off that video, I split with the publishing or the record company. I'm okay with that, right? Others won't let you do that at all. I mean, they just flat strike, ban, take your video down. If you don't take your video down, you'll be shot, that sort of thing. So Queen has, fans of Queen who have been posting live footage have been getting lots of strikes, and it's probably the record company is on a tear right now, cracking down on this. Brian May chimed in. Hi, folks. I've been watching this for a few days and I'm very concerned. I've asked our management to look into it and try to figure out if there is a reason for Instagram and Universal suddenly becoming so draconian. The decision to take these videos down certainly hasn't come from us, the band, and that hopefully we will get an answer soon. So apparently Brian doesn't have a problem with these fan videos coming up, but the management company and the platform do. So they're getting on, they're hitting that hard, right? It'll be interesting to see. And guys, this is only going to get bigger, right? Social media ain't going away. And the way people make money from music has completely changed in the last 30 years. And related to that, let me transition to a similar, different, but a little, but kind of similar, because it's kind of an old school versus a new school mentality. KK Downing. I've been picking on KK for a while, and I love KK Downing. I don't want any of you to think I'm a huge KK Downing fan, huge classic Priest fan. And there's an interview that Tim Ripper Owens, who's the singer in KK's Priest, he was on 99 Rock, WKSM radio in Florida. And he was asked about meet and greets. So we announced last week that KK's Priest will be doing their first U.S. tour coming up in the spring. And one of the ways that artists can supplement their income is doing paid meet and greets. Now, this is totally an old school versus new school. KK came up in the day where you had a lot of record company support. You actually made money selling albums. You made money on tour. And I don't think they typically did meet and greets back then. They didn't have to. Well, many artists now do these meet and greets. You pay extra, you pay X amount of dollars to do a little thing before the show where you actually get to go in and shake the hand and have your picture taken with the artist. And this is a pretty significant source of income for a lot of artists. They don't make money like they used to off of records. It's hard to make money in the music. I mean, it's always been hard, but it's even harder now because most people stream their music and artists make very little off of that. We don't buy physical albums anymore. It's all done digitally, and the revenue model is just completely different than what KK grew up with in the business. And my assumption is that this is just not something KK's wild, and he's 72 years old. And some people just, Neil Peart famously, not a real public figure, which sounds funny because he plays in a rock band, but he was not into the whole fan thing, meet and greets, all of that stuff. KK sounds like he's not really into that as well. Ripper Owen says, we usually don't do meet and greets. I know it's the big thing to do nowadays, and I would be all right doing meet and greets, but I know KK's not a big fan of them. He likes to get in, do the show, and get out. Again, this is, we hate to think about it this way, but this is a job, right? Especially if you're in your 70s, this romantic image of rock stars partying all night, that might have been the case for KK in 1979. But when you're 72 years old, he wants to go up, do his show, go back to the hotel room and have a cup of tea. I'm sure that's where his mind space is. Ripper Owen's a little younger. He would be down for doing the meet and greet, but also realistically, it's KK's Priest. And he even makes the point. It wouldn't make sense for the rest of us to do a meet and greet if KK's not there. That's who people want to see. But it's just an interesting little generational difference. The revenue model has changed. These artists are facing a completely different financial environment than they did back in the 70s and 80s when there was a lot of record company support. Tours made lots of money. It's just it's a different thing. And here we see kind of the old guard versus the new guard. It's to me a fascinating study. AI. We've talked about AI. AI is going to be playing a more and more prevalent role in music. This is a little different type of AI. This is not the kind of AI that writes lyrics, but it's a type of AI that we've seen, for instance, in the recent Beatles video. Remember the Now and Then video where they brought together footage from various periods of the Beatles, and it's, to be honest, pretty cool, right? Well, Jimi Hendrix may be following in the footsteps of the Beatles with the help of AI technology. Eddie Kramer, famous producer, he's the producer and engineer charged with working on the late guitarist's archival work. In a recent interview with the Vinyl Guide podcast, he admitted AI technology opens the doors for further exploration of Hendrix's material. Quote, it's really very advanced digital manipulation. And now the technology has become so evolved. He says that AI is the next big step in audio production. And quote, I'm sure if we found another tape on which Jimmy's voice is buried, I know I could use something similar, which I've done before, but now it's going to be on a much higher level. So there's a lot of recordings out there of Hendrix, right? And the problem in the past has been, it's a bad mix, his voice is buried, whatever. And this would not just apply to Jimi Hendrix, but I mean, think of all the archival recordings that are available of all kinds of artists. The technology now exists that they could really kind of clean those up. And from that standpoint, that could be really cool. It could be a chance for us to hear artists like we've never heard them before, stuff we never thought we'd hear before. We'd be able to do that. So it's kind of cool. He says, quote, yes, there are tapes that I would love to get my hands on with John and Janie and say, John and Janie, John McDermott handles the Hendrix library, and Janie is a member of the Hendrix family. It's Jimmy's stepsister, and they kind of control the Hendrix estate. And as far as the music, hey, maybe we can do X or Y, Kramer confessed. And though he cautioned no release was imminent, the engineer said he was very curious to see what the future holds. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this with other artists, how this AI technology can help. All right. Ending on some sad news. I hate to do this, but veteran Los Angeles radio host Jim Ladd died on December 16th. The news just came out yesterday at the age of 75 after suffering a heart attack. Now, I started in radio in like 1985. Okay. And by the time I started, radio, C8 contemporary hit radio, top 40 radio was already very, very formatted. I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, Jim Ladd was from a time where they did this free form stuff, right? Where DJs actually played what they wanted. And as the formatting, as the consultants started to come in the 70s, Jim Ladd famously still did his own thing, and he would get fired because he wouldn't follow playlists, because you'd get, the guys in the suits and ties that had done market research and they were the consultants that radio stations would pay to tell them what they should be playing based on research, whatever. Jim Ladd famously bucked that system. And he was a free form guy. He played what he wanted to play, right? And so he was always one of these guys that radio guys, little DJs working in the middle of a wheat field in Oklahoma somewhere, admired these guys, these early giants in the industry that kind of bucked the system and did what they wanted to do. His radio career began at the Long Beach station KNAC in 1969 before he moved to LA's KLOS in 71 and then KMET in 74. These are all huge stations, right? If you're a radio nerd, these are huge stations. He mostly remained with the Mighty Met, that's KMET, until a controversial and sudden format change in 1987. His refusal to follow playlists made it difficult for him to find regular work until he signed up once again with KLOS under what he called his free-form radio approach. And he worked for them from 97 till 2011. And then he had moved to Sirius XM. So Jim Ladd was he was good friends with Roger Waters, good friends with Tom Petty, and just a big voice in the radio world, especially the rock radio world. And he has passed away. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on the Daily Update. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Take care. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.